Howdy, and welcome to another drawing process. This time I've also included the drawing process with the previous Miiverse Drawing project. So this one also ties with the previous video. I know I said I wasn't going to do it, but I'm a glutton for punishment, and as an artist, I really like to try different things, new things, and some things that give really nice effects, like the photorealism stuff. So, I spent about 7 hours doing this particular project, so I hope it gives you a better idea of what I did. I didn't exactly follow my advice, strangely enough, which I kicked myself for. I ended up following the advice on the next project, my Fox McCloud, which isn't in this, but you can find up on my Miiverse profile. But in any case, let's go ahead and get started and take a look at the drawing. So the first process is obviously doing the grid that we discussed before. I did the same grid structure as I did in the Miiverse Drawing in terms of 20 pixels by 20 pixels. I ended up drawing the grid. Now, I'm a little slow. I realized the gray lines on the gamepad are 20 pixels, so a box is what you see here, the whole square. So technically, if you're paying attention, you don't need to draw the boxes. I do anyway, because, well, especially if I take a break or something and come back, then I'm gonna have a heck of a time trying to get back into it. So it's really up to you, but if you do the 20 by 20 like I do, then that's an easier way to, instead of sitting there and counting out pixels, is just go down the gray line. Something I've noticed why I did this. I'm a little slow, like I said, but let's move on to the actual first row of work. And you'll see the advice I did not follow that made the most sense to me at the time I was recording the Miiverse Drawing was to do it left to right, which I did. I did do that row left to right, but from top to bottom. I was like, oh, there's all this, major stuff at the bottom. Let me start at the bottom. By the time I finished with this row, I was kicking myself. I'd really wish I started off at his hair and worked my way down. I think it was just pixel counting and some other issues that it would have made me feel better if I was working from top to bottom. Basically though, this whole thing is pixel counting. I do change it up a little bit as we go on, but when we get to that part, I'll let you know. So let's move to the second row. Okay, so second row, still pixel counting, as you'll see, and you not necessarily notice this when you're working on stuff. You're just looking at the pixels, but if you back out for a moment and take a look at your image, you'll start to see the whole thing start forming. On this row, though, I did start to do what I talked about at the end of the last photo, is that I do pixel counting for the major parts, the connecting parts between boxes, and some important areas to make it, visually what it's supposed to be. But there are some areas, like on the right side of Donkey Kong here, the lighter part on that second row, I started doing this where I would put pixels in, black pixels, and just random pixels. So it gave it some texture, but wasn't necessarily exactly right. It ended up working, and it saved me some time. I did that a lot, well, I wouldn't say a lot more, but a bit more on Fox McCloud. The one I do after that will probably have even more, but there you can manipulate it where you do random pixel dots and get it look close enough where you don't have to pixel count the whole time. So let's hit row 3. And with row 3 we have Donkey Kong's eyes, ears, and tie his tie is finished. The thing is a lot of this is still pixel counting. Some of the edges on his left side aren't. Well, I should say the edges are, but some of the internal white dots and stuff are random. You can still get nice effects by making it random but still look like it belongs. Pretty easy, just same old, so let's move on to row 4. So with row 4 we have Donkey Kong's eyebrows area and all, and the bottom part of Diddy Kong. Same process here, pixel counting, random pixels to save a bit of time in some areas. Very time consuming, but still the effect is quite nice. Pretty simple here, same stuff. So let's move to row 5. So finishing the previous row, I started to feel like I was getting towards done. When I finished this one, I felt especially relieved. One more row to go. So just applying the same things here. Just one more row to go. Hair for Donkey Kong and eyes and tail for Diddy Kong. So let's go to the last row. And with that we're done. Donkey Kong's hair, Diddy Kong's eyes, hat, tail, and what a relief. I know I had said, and I really meant it at the time, that I wasn't going to do any of these. Time for one, which fortunately I have found a decent amount of time by myself to do it, but also on my eyes, and it really was difficult on my eyes, especially since I spent about 7 hours on this project. I did take a small break or two, but in the end, actually it wasn't so much my eyes, even though they were tired, was my wrist and my arm, because the tablet isn't really good for long-term drawing. I found that to be kind of a pain, so I think if I do anything more at this point, it would have to be smaller projects, or projects where I do a lot more random pixel dot things going on to give it the effect, because the time I spent on this was unreal. I didn't feel that great after, and the next day my wrist was still hurting and a portion on my arm, so do be mindful of some effects, that what you're drawing and how long it's gonna take, because it can give you some negative health effects, but in the end it turned out quite nice. So with that, I hope it gives you a better idea of the whole process. If you have any questions, feel free to ask, but I think I will leave it off at this, and I wish you all a great week. Have a good one, guys.